Hello everybody, so I'm going to make a quick video on how to do the balloons. First thing you need to do is you need to have an ellipse. So I'm going to hold my shift key on this and create my ellipse. For the assignment you can't have it as a perfect circle, so what we're going to do is we're going to click on our direct selection, and I'm going to click on the bottom point. I want to make sure the bottom point is highlighted by the blue. All the other points should be white. That means they're not selected. And I'm just going to hold my shift key as I drag that point down. So I drag it, hold shift, and that gives me my balloon shape. I'm going to actually drag it a little bit further to get a long balloon. Alright, so that gives me my balloon shape. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my star tool. Actually, no, I'm not. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the edge here. I'm going to take my stroke to 0. So 0. And I'm going to change my fill color to something a little bit brighter. So I went with a green. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my triangle, my star tool to make a triangle. So I make my triangle. If it comes up like this, that just means you have to hit your arrow keys on your keyboard, and that'll lower your number of sides. So I lowered that. I'm holding shift again, and gives me my triangle. I'll move it down so you can see it. I go back to my direct selection. These are rounded corners, so I'm going to click on these and round my corners off so I get a nice round corner. Click on this point. Again, I just want that one point in the middle. It gives me the blue. I'm just going to drag that up. And then I'm going to round that corner as well. So it gives it a nice look. So that gives me the little nub of the bottom of the balloon. Alright, now holding my shift key, I'm going to make it smaller so it's like a balloon nub. It's still a little bit big. Looks good. So I have my blue nub. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to just drag my selection arrow, my black arrow, around all of it to select it. I'm going to go to Window, Pathfinder, and I'm going to click Unite. Alright? These all allow me to do different things, minus the front, where they intersect. But this one I want to bring together so that later on when I make it transparent, it's all one color. It won't have the bottom being a darker color and the top color being lighter. Alright, so I have my balloon. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to work on the string. So I'm going to click on my pencil tool. I'm going to flip my colors so that they're back to black and white. I can turn off the fill on that, the white on that. So I click none for the fill. Oops, let me deselect that first. So I click on my pencil, and then I click the black and white and turn on none for the fill. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag my pencil to create my balloon line. That looks really bad, so I'm just going to delete that. Go double click my pencil tool. This gives me my fidelity. I'm going to take my fidelity all the way to smooth and click OK. This way it'll give me a nice smooth line when I'm drawing it. So I'm going to just draw like that. And then I'm going to drag down for my string. Right? Gives me a nice smooth chord like it's blowing in the wind. Right? Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select them both. So I selected everything, and I'm going to group it together. So right click, and I'm going to say group. I'm going to make my balloon a little bit smaller so it's not taking up my whole page. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hold on my option key so I can duplicate it. So I'm going to duplicate it right here. Rotate it a little bit. Get it close to the other one. And I'm going to select it again, hold on my option key, and duplicate it again. This time I'm going to flip it by just dragging it like that. This flips it to the other direction. The reason why I did that is because I want all my strings to be together as a bunch, as the assignment asked for. And then I have my 3 balloons. Right now you can't tell they're 3 balloons because they're all the same color. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to double click it, and I'm going to add some effects to it. So I have my gradient right here. This is the gradient. Or you can come over here and click gradient. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click radial. So I'm just give it a nice gradient on the top. Right? But I don't want that color, so I'm going to click over here. Oops. I'm going to click the color, and I'm going to change that color. Oh. I'm going to change it to CMYK. Or you can do RGB for this because it's for a screen. I'm gonna make it blue. Gives me a nice blue color there. And the gradient's nice because it has the white in the middle and the darker edge around the edge. Right, and I'm in isolation mode, so I'm gonna click out of that. You can click escape or you can just double click somewhere. I'm gonna click the next balloon, double click it to get in isolation mode. Again, I'm gonna add a stroke to it. This time I'm gonna double click my color again to change it. Go with a purplish color. Alright, gives me my purple color. Isolation mode, I double click to get out of it. And I'm gonna leave the last one green, but I do want to have it as a gradient as well. Oops. So I'm gonna double click my balloon, get in isolation mode, click my gradient, and this one I'm gonna make green. Double click it, make it green, right? And then click out of it again. This time I'm gonna hit escape to get out of it. So I have my 3 balloons, I have my strings, and what I want to do is these top balloons, I want to give them a little bit more interest. So I'm going to click on them, double click it. It takes me into my isolation again. This time I'm going to go over here to my properties and I'm going to look at opacity here. Lower my opacity to 80%. So I hit 80% and I'm going to double click my blue balloon, do the same. 80%, I just typed it in, hit enter. So now my balloons have a little bit of transparency to them. The green balloon, I don't need to do that because it's all the way in the back. So nothing's going to be, just not going to show anything through it. So just did my blue, my purple, and I'm pretty much done. But I'm going to add in some gleams just to make it a little bit more exciting. Put these in the middle so it's nicely centered. Right. So I'm going to click on my pencil tool. I still have it. If I look at my fidelity by double clicking, it's still at smooth, just fine. But I'm going to click black and white, making sure that my balloons are not selected so that I don't lose the colors I added. And then I'm going to just click none for the fill. Actually, I'm going to click black and white. I'm going to click none for the stroke, and then I'm going to flip it. So now I have a white for my stroke. The reason why I need white is because I'm going to do a little gleam for the balloons. So I'm just going to drag a line right here, right there. Do the same for this one. And I'm going to do one for the last one as well. I'm not going to put a little bottom one on that one. So I'm going to, with them all selected, by holding my shift, I'm going to select them all. I'm going to click shift and select all the little pieces that I made. Actually, what am I doing? I'm going to go to my width tool. So if it's not showing up, it might be under another tool. You can right click on some of these to get it. But I'm going to click on the width tool. The way that this works is you try to find the middle point of this and you're going to just drag out and it creates a wider line. Let's do this for all of them. Alright, so I get my wider line. Now I'm going to click my regular selection and I'm going to click on each of these so that I get them all together at the same time. And I'm going to come over here to opacity and just lower the opacity to like 25%. And I got my gleams. So I made a simple balloon. If you want to go a little bit further, you can add a rectangle in the background and nice gradient to it. So I have that. I'm going to turn off the stroke. So I made my fill. Go to my gradient button. I see, click on this. I'm going to click on fading sky by using a little drop down. Should be a preset. Negative 90 degrees. So it's at the top. And then I'm going to right click and say arrange, send to back. So I have my balloons. I have a nice sky. And it's all done. Make sure you are saving this as a with your layers. So let me go to my layers, window, layers. Right, so I'm going to title this balloons. If you're doing them all on one document, so you definitely want to have your balloons so you can turn on that off, do your shapes, and then do your magazine. So I'm going to save this, and that's it. So I hope the tutorial helped. Balloons. Hope the tutorial helped, and if you have any questions, just email me. All right, thanks.